Okay, welcome back, everyone. I know it's been a long time since we've seen you. Yeah. We're glad to be here.
We're in a different studio right now.
Yeah, we got moved around. Well, they got moved around, so a lot of things have been going on in our lives with the end of school semesters coming up and midterms and such. But yeah, we're back now, and we're going to talk about a couple things. First, we're going to talk about Secret Invasion, and then we will be diving into our thoughts of the recent movie, The Flash. So let's just get started. And remember to like and subscribe.
Yes. Just starting off with Secret Invasion. First off, Disney needs to do a lot better job marketing. I didn't know that the show had actually come out until I was just on my lunch break at work, and somebody said, "Oh, hey, did you see the new Marvel show?" I'm like,
What?
That came out? And so I wasn't exactly super excited. I like Sam Jackson, I like Nick Fury.
Yeah.
I don't love the story of Secret Invasion, but I think it's one that can be executed well. Just the general premise of it is fine.
Yeah.
I sat down, I watched it after work, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but definitely a thumbs up from me. Maybe not two, but one thumbs up.
Yeah, I watched it with Stefan because he recommended it, because Jed recommended it to Stefan. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it to death or anything, but it's definitely more solid than a lot of their other shows, so I'll give it that. But not up there with the Netflix Daredevil show or anything.
Yeah, very few things are up there with Daredevil.
Right, but it is better than a lot of the other Disney Marvel shows, I would say.
Yeah, and it's a simple thing that they did. They took the story seriously. They made the villain a bad guy that they don't have to make him sympathetic.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
They might.
So far, it's like he wants to take over the world.
We understand where he's coming from, but we also see that he's wrong.
Yep.
And we're only one episode in. They've already done a pretty good job of establishing potential stakes while also showing us that they may go there. I doubt that they're actually going to take over the world, but they've demonstrated through various events that I won't spoil, but they're willing to go further than just basic, MCU, everything is happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, they killed off a major player already in the first episode, which I thought was gutsy. It's nice that there's jokes, but it's not overrun with jokes. There is a serious tone from the very get-go. It's something that it's a threat that they have to take seriously, and it's not something they can manage in a day or call in the Avengers and they can fix it, because frankly, who are the Avengers now? I don't know.
Touching on the humor, I didn't love the stuff with Sam Jackson. Don't get me wrong, his jokes made me laugh, and I can remember one or two of them, which if I remember laughing but not remember what made me laugh, not a great sign. But the person who I really liked humor-wise, Olivia Colman's character. She's very much like oh hi, I'm the grizzled spy master, I'm hard, I'm cold, except that's not at all what she acts like. She's super friendly and charming and funny and kind of goofy, which only makes it that much scarier when she's talking about oh yes, and then we'll go kill this person, and don't worry, we'll handle that.
Yeah.
So it was able to bring levity without taking away the serious tone of the show.
Yeah, that was neat. Like you said, there was jokes that I knew I was supposed to laugh, and sometimes I did, but afterwards don't remember them that well. If I were to think back on this episode, I wasn't paying too much attention, to be honest, but it just didn't get my engagement that well, because I've never, like Jade said, I don't like the Secret Invasion storyline, because it goes into things like, oh, this person was never who you thought they were the whole time. It's like, oh well, yeah. I didn't like it when Nick Fury was a Skrull in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right, and at least with that movie, they could say it was just for that one movie.
Yeah.
This show, it may be like, oh, this character you've known for a long time. The whole time we've known them, they've been an alien invader.
Yeah.
But we do know, because they've already shown one character that we've known has been a Skrull. They did establish that this one is only just a Skrull in this show. So...
Which one is that?
Spoilers, I guess, for the opening scene. Agent Ross. Yeah, because they said this is
he's a scroll just for this show.
Yeah,
Okay.
Murray Hill made a point of saying this was Imposter Ross. We got to go find where the original one is. It was just a throwaway line, but yeah, they did establish that.
Okay, well that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go into actually Captain America was a scroll the whole time or whatever, even though he probably is not even going to be a part of this show.
Sure.
I guess he could be. That could be cool. They could bring him back as a scroll villain and be an imposter. That'd be kind of cool. But
yeah. See, my biggest complaint with this, and I did like it overall, but my complaint is that it sounds like a bad criticism, but I didn't like it enough because I loved the tone they had. I loved the content they had. I like that they're going for more of a Cold War spy thriller. But if I want to watch a Cold War spy thriller, I want something that's just dripping with atmosphere. I want to see tension in every single moment.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson walking down the streets of Russia at nighttime. I mean, he's looking around, making sure people aren't following him. But I wasn't ever really oh crap, who's coming for him? Someone's watching him. I didn't really feel that tension.
Yeah, it's just he's just walking.
Yeah.
And back to the humor now that I'm thinking about it, some of the times I thought Nick Fury's character was a little too jokey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay, Nick Fury should be a little more hardcore.
Right, and he can have very funny lines, but they need to be incredibly dry, sarcastic lines.
Yeah, and dark
Yeah.
stuff. And he had a little bit of that going on.
It's not nearly as caustic as he used to be.
No, it seemed a little too goofy. Yeah,
it's more like we're watching Sam Jackson than Nick Fury.
Yeah.
I think what Jed was saying about it needing to drip with atmosphere and having stakes, I think there was enough of that spy thriller aspect that it whet my palate.
Yeah.
But not enough to feast on. Compare him walking blatantly in the streets in the middle of Russia to as soon as he knows there's something wrong with Project Insight in the Winter Soldier, and then just cops are after him, chasing him, and SWAT guys come in after him. Everybody's after him, and then he manages to evade all of them, and then it concludes with the Winter Soldier walking in the middle of the road.
Great build-up, yeah.
Yeah, they need more stuff like that. I feel like the ending of the episode, that I think felt really hooked me in because I thought, okay, people are going to die. There's going to be motive for Fury and for all the other characters. It's and there already is for Talos. Mild spoiler, his wife, I don't remember her name.
Gaia is his daughter.
Yeah.
It starts with a D, I don't remember. Yeah.
She died apparently, and someone close to Fury gets killed off by the end of the show, so episode I should say.
Yeah, kind of what you were saying. If the general tone and atmosphere doesn't ramp up in following episodes, I'm going to be disappointed. But if this is just here's a taste so that you can kind of get used to it, and now we're going to dive into the deep end, okay, you got my thumbs up.
Yep. Overall, I think Jed and I liked it decently. Brendan wants something a little bit more. I think we all want a little more.
Yes.
But Brendan wants something that will draw him in a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm at the point.
It's a little less of a slow burn.
If this was if this came out right after Endgame, I'd be way more over it. But I'm kind of at the point where Marvel's kind of an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, you've been burned too many times.
Yeah, she my ex-girlfriend that went crazy. She used to be cool, but then she, I don't know, started taking drugs or something, went crazy. I don't like her as much. It's going to take a lot more than that to get me really into it.
Yeah.
So if it gets awesome, sweet, but
sure, yeah.
I'm not all that excited about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Any of y'all want to say after that?
No, I'm good.
Cool.
Yeah, let's talk about the Flash.
Oh gosh, where to start with the Flash?
The Flash.
Yeah, before we even start talking about the movie itself, there are a few things we should probably get out of the, just clear out, talk about the elephant.
The Ezra
plural elephants in the room, yeah. For those of you who don't know, the main guy playing the Flash is not the most well-known actor out there, but, if you saw him, you'd probably say, oh yeah, he was that guy. He's been in some stuff, and I really like him as an actor. Oh my gosh, what a terrible person he is, though, in real life. He, has had many charges brought against him of, holding a couple at gunpoint after breaking into their home, stealing alcohol, grooming an underage girl to be in a cult, worshiping him, keeping guns and babies around carelessly, like really weird things on top of just bad things. Like, picking up a woman by the throat and slamming her to the ground. Generally not a good person. But it should also be noted, in my opinion, these are things that happened after he shot the movie.
Right.
He was very high on his own supply, thought like, I'm a living god, I can do anything, and decided to, go out and kind of ruin his life. But, personally, I don't want to speak for anyone else. I felt justified in watching this movie because that was all stuff he did afterwards. I don't know if I'm ever going to see an Ezra Miller movie again. I don't know if he's ever going to be in a movie again. But just as far as seeing this movie, I mean, heck, I'll go back and watch, like old Kevin Spacey stuff from the 90s. I don't see how that's different from this.
Right. Right, and you can see... It just depends on how uncomfortable you feel. Like, if you watch The Cosby Show after knowing... Like, it's still funny, but, like, what he did.
Yeah.
And it makes you uncomfortable to watching it because it happened during it.
And I'm not shaming people who, would feel otherwise than I do. I'm just saying... Where I'm coming from, it's a very case-by-case basis, and this is where I'm coming from on this movie in particular.
Yeah.
Hollywood, if you want to boycott Hollywood for scum and villainy,
you'd have to watch a movie again.
Almost everything.
Yeah.
Maybe, Lord of the Rings is okay, because I've never heard of any misconduct there.
Sure. But even then, you're like, there's probably like a key grip or a lighting person or something.
Somebody touched somebody else or screwed somebody else over.
Mm-hmm. Well, even with Lord of the Rings, like they went to New Zealand because they could get all these workers for cheap to make the sets and the costumes.
I guess I got a no.
I mean, remember, Harvey Weinstein produced the movies.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Nothing's perfect. I mean, it's the whole J.K. Rowling thing.
Right.
But, my problem is not necessarily that the artist did stuff that was wrong.
Yeah.
You can separate the art from the artist.
Mm-hmm.
You can like stuff that the artist made that is just completely horrible.
Yeah.
Like, actors, I disagree with a lot of actors, their opinions.
Oh, yeah.
But I still like their movies.
Sure.
I go watch their movies.
Yeah, they're talented people.
But... the problem I see with Ezra Miller's is Warner Brothers didn't come out and say, hey, we know that this actor that's in our movie has done some effy things and we condemn those things that he's done. Mm-hmm. But they didn't come out and say anything. They're like, oh, this movie's great. Everyone, let's just come and watch it. They never said anything about it. As if nothing happened.
Like
that's kind of my problem.
Ezra Miller personally put out a statement saying, like, guys, I'm seeking the help I need. Thanks for, giving me understanding in this time. Yeah. Sure, that's fine for him to say. But if the studio were to come out and say, we do not condone any of Ezra Miller's recent actions and we condemn wholeheartedly A and B, we are very glad to say that he is getting the help that he needs, and we will assess our relationship with him moving forward once he has recovered. Something like that. Yeah. A nice way to say, we're not going to work with you again, but we're not going to say that yet.
Yeah, like if you get your act together, maybe Robert Downey Jr. style.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We love a redemption story, but no, they haven't said that.
The best thing they could have said was, Ezra Miller's in the film, but he's not the film. Other people worked hard on this film. There's other things you can see and support. If you can't do it for Ezra Miller, if you can't stand him, I understand that. But there's other people and other things that you could support here.
Yeah,
that are worthwhile.
I think this brings us to our next point, like just the hype behind it. Like, how is there so much hype, and not once did anyone say, "Oh, Ezra Miller, we're sorry that he's done bad things."
Right.
But there are other people who did their part.
Right.
It's not just him. Mm-hmm. But everyone that you go on the internet that saw it before, all of us saw it. They just were praising that. Mm-hmm.
Everyone who went to CinemaCon said this is one of the greatest superhero movies ever. Tom Cruise heard the hype and said, I gotta see this. He watched it and said, oh my gosh, this is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. This is the exact kind of thing that people go to the movie theater for. I gotta find the director and congratulate him. This is amazing. And Christopher McQuarrie, his frequent collaborator, he echoed all that too. And we watched it. We liked it.
Yeah, not the greatest superhero movie. Not
my
top 5.
Really like.
Yeah. It's in my top 5 of DCEU movies, but
that's not hard though.
No, which we'll talk about later. But
first of all, there's not very many of them.
There's 14. Yeah, if we're including Zack Snyder's Justice League as a different one. If we're not, that's only 13.
There's 13.
Very lucky. Very lucky.
How many of those are good though? You know.
I
guess
5.
5. Flash is number 5. Well, and James Gunn came out and said it was one of the best superhero movies he's seen.
Yeah, and it wasn't just him trying to hype up a movie coming out, because he didn't say that for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. He didn't say that for Blue Beetle. He didn't say that for Aquaman 2. He said that specifically for The Flash.
Right.
And that's okay. You can hype up a movie if you really liked it or whatever, or you're just trying to sell it.
Yeah, maybe he genuinely does. This is one of his favorite superhero movies.
But like none of them, I don't remember anyone coming out and saying, "Sorry about Ezra Miller, but work with us, please."
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, the movie, we liked it. We all said that. We all liked it.
Yeah.
I think it is not perfect, like we said. Not the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Okay, what do you like about it, though? Before we get into some criticisms, we're saying we do like it. If we say we like it and say, like, here's all our complaints. Yeah, so...
Yeah, we'll get there. Well, you're right. Let's start saying good things.
So, I think just, talking about the plot, it's eerily similar to a movie that came out, like, 2 weeks earlier in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. There's actually one or two things that I think this movie did better, plot-wise.
Oh, okay.
Of course, Across the Spider-Verse is a part 1 of 2, so we don't know how they're going to handle certain threads. But it's very much, going into the themes of fate, themes of, can you change bad things from happening? Sure, it's a time travel story. Can you rewrite history?
Yeah.
But, to quote the first Spider-Verse movie, the whole thing about Spider-Man is you could be Spider-Man. You could wear the mask. Well, being a superhero, as they explore in the sequel, it means that bad things are going to happen to you. Like whether you're going to lose an Uncle Ben, or for the Flash, whether your mom is going to die, and you can't change that. Because if you change it, bad things happen. But if we're using real life logic, you can be a superhero, and you know what? Bad things are going to happen. You can't stop it. The good things will happen too, and you can't get hung up on the bad things. I think this movie did a very good job of telling that story, with a minor trip at the end of the execution of the message.
Yeah.
But overall, just the message and story of, regret and trying to fix things and taking responsibility. I'd give it maybe not an A+, but I'd give it a solid A on, handling of that theme and story.
Yeah, sure. I would give it in the time traveling thing, sure.
It's like that scene, without too much spoilers, at the end with the grocery store and the can of tomatoes. Yeah, it was a perfect bow on that storyline that then loosened a little, but whatever.
Yeah, so so it's got the heart, I would say. It's got a lot of heart.
Yeah.
It does Flash's and his mom's story pretty well, and his dad to a point. But I think in my opinion, it kind of fails both versions of Batman in giving them satisfying conclusions. I'm going to jump to No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Sure.
I feel like they brought back these different actors from different versions of Spider-Man movies, and both of those Spider-Man had something that they needed to resolve that ended poorly in their respective universes.
Right. Not just like, I'm going to do something for the plot, but I'm going to do something for me. I'm going to progress.
Yes. Andrew saves MJ, which is a reference to him losing Gwen Stacy. And Peter, we find out, does get with his MJ, and they do work it out. Which, in the last Spider-Man movie, the last thing he did to her was punch her in the face.
Yeah, they were on the rocks there.
So it was just nice to see that resolution. Whereas in this movie, we see Batfleck, and he's still in his redemption arc of Superman is actually good for the world. We should have more trust in each other and work as a team. Still
kind of sad, though. Like, not like brooding, angsty, angry guy who's got, like, I need to kill Superman. But,
he's still
I'm sad and lonely.
Yeah. And if they had done the original Flashpoint story, then he would have gotten a letter at the end, assuming it's like the cartoon.
Yeah.
I haven't read the comic.
The comic and the cartoon movie are almost identical.
Okay, so he gets the letter at the end from his father, but they couldn't do that in this version. And Batfleck's erased from existence, so...
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So, and then Keaton, also, they didn't really resolve anything there. We don't know if Catwoman ever... ended up with Batman in the Keaton universe.
Right.
It was cool to see Keaton. I don't think they destroyed his character or anything. I didn't think they got really any resolution in that. So that was kind of disappointing to me. Oh, I should talk about the things I like. It's got heart. It's got heart. Batman action scenes are really cool, and
Michael Keaton brought his A game. He still is that. Not just like hi, I'm a superhero, but he's crazy.
yeah, he's crazy. It was nice to see the clear differences between a Batfleck and a Keaton Batman. Though Batfleck, this weird scene in daytime with the blue mask close up, he looked a little funky.
Yeah, some of the close ups on the cowl didn't look great. Overall, I like the suit, but
overall the action for Batman was cool.
Yeah.
Flash, I think Ezra Miller is a good actor and was impressive. The scenes that he needed to really bring his A game, he did.
Yeah, we should also mention, for those of you who don't know, Ezra Miller, if you have a problem with him, but you're kind of on the edge, sitting on the fence, whether you're going to see it, he plays two characters in this movie. And both of them get a lot of screen time working with each other because, he ends up going back in time and running around with his past self. His past self is incredibly annoying. But rarely to me, he was annoying to the characters around him, but it never made me go like, oh gosh, can this guy just please vaporize? I can't take anymore. It was very much, him getting to see his past self and say oh gosh, time for a bit of self-reflection. I'm annoying as crap. And he becomes a lot more interesting and responsible and all that.
Yeah, that's very true. I like that.
I went for Keaton. And I walked out liking Barry. I walked out liking Supergirl.
Yeah, we should talk about her briefly.
Yeah, so I think the characters, the main,
the core trio.
The main three, which there's really four, but it's three. I ended up liking them. I ended up liking the way the younger, annoying Ezra Miller progressed and where he went, because it made sense.
Yeah, you see someone, in this alternate timeline where all of a sudden his mother didn't die, being, his older, more serious, kind of darker self says hey, I don't want to say, but our mom died, and maybe I want to undo that, make it so she dies again. You could see how this younger, more immature version is going to say, I'm not on board with this.
Yeah, and he idolizes the older self because he's like, wow, this guy's actually a hero, and he's training him and all those things. So I really liked by the end of the film, I was like, I'm really rooting for these people to beat Zod. And so before we go into that, I think that's pretty much it for my thoughts on what I liked. I just like those characters.
Yeah.
That's true.
Diving in just for a minute or two on the character of Supergirl, I didn't know why they were going to bring Supergirl into this movie. I feel they justified it well enough. It's an alternate timeline, but it's not just, things are different. Things are very different, and they wanted to show how different things were. And she's very different from Henry Cavill's Superman.
Yeah.
She's actually pretty close to how she's portrayed in the comics.
She's close enough that you could believe this is Henry Cavill's cousin.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, they both got dark hair or whatever. Though that's not a given with cousins. But her attitude, her strength, her brazenness. Sometimes young Henry Cavill's Superman did a lot of similar things. We're just like, let's tackle Zod. And
but he was always like, I'm going to defend my family, or humanity is worth protecting. Whereas with her, it's just like, screw you guys. You guys have been keeping me in this awful prison, taking my powers away for decades and torturing me and doing experiments on me. I don't care about any of you. I grew up on Krypton. Krypton's the greatest. I mean, it's not there anymore, but I wouldn't mind seeing it back. And then very economically, only over a few short scenes, but you understand the journey well enough, you see why she would change sides and say, actually, we're going to fight for humanity.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Looking past her own problems, her own issues, and looking back to who she is and what her, her crest stands for. And,
Supergirl?
Supergirl. Yeah, hope. So that I like that too. She was likable. She was fun. Her action scenes. Can we talk about how the knives can kill Kryptonians? The knives that pop out. I'm not sure that makes sense.
I'll buy that just because it's Kryptonian technology. It's very hand waving. Just say trust us, it can work.
It's like Loki's blade stabbing Thor.
It's just it's hard to believe, but sure, I'll roll with it for the sake of the story. It's an ask. a movie can have a few times where they ask you just like, okay, just go with me here. This movie might have come a few times too close to that line.
Yeah. Because if you think about that, why did Batman need to go steal kryptonite if he could just go
find some wreckage,
steal some armor,
and
make a knife on his batsuit from the same material? I'm just gonna write it up to it's a different universe.
Sure.
In the original universe, the knives don't do that. But that's just me solving problems for Warner Brothers.
A comparison just came to mind. This Supergirl, she's very serious, very dour. But then she remembers Hope, and she's not like, "Hi, look at me, I'm smiley, I'm happy." But she gains a little bit more humanity towards the end.
Yeah.
This is what they were trying to do with Captain Marvel, and they failed on every level.
Right, exactly, and that's the reason I went into the theater thinking I'm not gonna not even in the theater, but when I saw the set photos with her floating around, I thought I don't think I'm gonna like Supergirl. She looks too Captain Marvel-y, like she's just gonna ride in, make everyone else look like an idiot. Yeah, but it wasn't. It was like, okay, this is Supergirl, and there's only so much you can do against an army of Kryptonians.
Granted, she is the big guns on the team, but they still all had something to contribute.
Oh yeah, and she wasn't obnoxious and saying my way's the only way, or when she saw Barry needed help getting struck by lightning, she helped him. She doesn't say anything like, "Oh, you idiot! Why were you doing it like that?" It was just very nice to see that. I was surprised I liked her as well. She was very cool. But the knife thing—that's going to drive me crazy forever.
Do we want to talk about Andy Muschietti? Andy Muschietti, he's the director. Biggest movies he's done before this were the 2 It films. He's almost exclusively done horror before this. Jumping over, I think he did a good job. I don't know if this is really like the sort of script he would have liked to tackle, because he loves doing stuff with let's go dark and get inside people's heads and figure out what makes them tick and stuff. And you see that stuff in this movie. But then there's also hey, what if we put in this cameo, and what if we showed off this character, and hey, you remember this guy, don't you?
And what if we, put in a lot of tomfoolery in the first half of the film?
Which I'm kind of I didn't like all the tomfoolery. I'm glad that they kind of went 110% with it, if they're going to do it at all.
Sure.
But it was a lot of it. It was a lot. There was a fight scene early on which there's a whole bunch of babies falling out of a hospital building, and we'll talk about the babies themselves in a bit, but it's very much in slow motion from the Flash's perspective. You see a scalpel is about to fall on one is about to be hit by a fireball, one is about to be splashed with acid, a dog is about to bite, just Looney Tunes level of insane, oh my gosh, really? We're going there? I half expected an anvil to be falling with them. But because it committed to that absurdity, it kind of worked for me, even though let's talk about the CGI.
Yeah.
Is this the worst CGI we've seen in a modern blockbuster?
I don't know. I haven't watched
in a while.
Thor: Love and Thunder. I heard that has bad.
Thor: Love and Thunder has some bad CGI, a few moments, but this is atrocious.
It's like the whole movie, though.
It looks like it was badly rendered on a PS2.
I have a problem with his justification for it, because we have the Flash, and he's saying...
Whose justification?
The director.
The director. He said, because he's running fast, things are distorted. I'm thinking, no, that's only true if you're showing it in time.
Right.
But he's in slow motion. Nothing should be distorted.
Yeah, as you approach the speed of light, stuff is going to look different just because, you're going as fast as the rays of light hitting your eyes.
Yeah.
But when it's just oh, hi, I'm running around at 900 miles an hour, I'd get it if you wanted to blur stuff, but when you're showing us your perspective, everything should be crystal clear.
Yeah.
And so I think they either needed to really stylize it, almost make it look like a cartoon, okay, a good comparison, make it look like a different Zack Snyder movie, make it look like 300.
Yeah.
Almost none of that movie looked real, but it looked, like a fantasy. It looked mysterious and epic, and
it worked together.
Right.
As a whole,
everything
rather than
fake.
Isolated it as a fake thing.
It looked like it was supposed to look real and failed in that. So the babies are horrifying to look at. There's people that are horrifying to look at. It's going to haunt my dreams for a long time, and not in a good way coming from a horror director.
Yeah. So, mission accomplished.
Yeah, CG wasn't great.
Oh.
That's not everything.
No.
There are bits where it works.
It's a nitpick. It's a big nitpick, but it's not going to make a bad movie good or a good movie bad.
Right.
You can tell where he prioritized the effects, where he's like, okay, Keaton's Batman has to look great when he's a CG character, and occasionally Ben Affleck. Everything else,
So yeah, he really cares about making Batman look good, and we'll address that sort of. But this movie, there's going to be more movies in this iteration of DC coming out. There's 2 more coming out this year. I don't know anyone who's like, oh my gosh, I got to see them. And so this movie has essentially been marketed as the end. And even though it's not literally the end, how do we feel it accomplished its goals in that regard?
I don't really. I like the whole DC universe as it was under Zack Snyder and hit that sort of direction. I like the Man of Steel, BVS. And I understand people don't like that. And Wonder Woman, I like Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I like Shazam. Aquaman. Those sort of movies, I think those all go together pretty well.
Right. They may have differing tones, but they still generally get gelled together.
Yeah. And, the plot line with Aquaman is a little iffy with the Zack Snyder Justice League version of Aquaman.
Well,
that's something you could ignore.
They did establish in this movie, in The Flash, this is a sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League and not the theatrical one.
Oh, definitely. It definitely is. Because there's scenes where you see Barry running through time and he sees Aquaman pointing at him. And that's from the Zack Snyder Justice League.
Yeah, and when he's talking to Batman, like, hey, I can time travel. He's like you did, in Russia in Justice League. And he's like, no, this is even more than that, which didn't happen in the theatrical version at all.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Oh, and they use the same sort of thing when he time travels in this movie. He's running. And he's like in a black void, but every step he takes turns into a blue, glowing area, which happens in the Justice League movie.
It was a nice evolution of that.
So I like that. I was like, oh, this is like really telling us that this is part of that universe, and they're not trying to write it off quite yet.
Yeah.
But for an ending of this universe, it just felt so empty. I just seeing Wonder Woman pop up, I just knew I was never going to see her again, and this last cameo of hers didn't really hit me. Her music used to be super cool when you hear her music.
But now it just shows up as she stands there awkwardly.
Yeah, and Shazam too, she walks up. It's like, okay, she's just walking.
Hi guys, sorry I'm late.
They've turned Wonder Woman into kind of Mary Poppins. Everything she does, it's everyone, gushing, you're so wonderful. Instead of having actual bite and people being like, who are you? And, this is a dangerous person or anything like that.
Because Wonder Woman, yes, is supposed to bring feelings of hope and awe and all that, but she's also supposed to then immediately go do something. You're like, oh gosh, this is a warrior from times long past, and she's kind of hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was great in basically all the movies except Wonder Woman 1984.
Sure.
Because she was hardcore. Like when she's fighting Doomsday, she gets punched across the battlefield, flies a mile, slams into a wall, and she just smiles like,
all right, yeah, let's do this.
Like, this is fun. She was cool, and now she's just like, I'm gonna make you say stupid things with my rope and walk around, and that's about it. It's like, okay. And then Batfleck, I mentioned this earlier. He doesn't get a good resolution. He's gone.
Yeah, they did a great job of showing where he was at in a scene where he's talking with Flash.
Yeah.
He's in a really low place, but then he doesn't get to come through to the other side of that.
He's just gone.
Yeah.
I mean, we might see him in Aquaman. I know they shot scenes for him, but they might cut that out now.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, this is based on a comic book that came out in 2011, I want to say. DC had gotten very complicated. It was like, we have this universe and that timeline and all this. And so they just said, hey, we're going to have Flash run back in time and back to the future. So when he comes back, we're going to reboot everything. It's just going to be everything. We're going to clean it up. Everything's going to be simpler. Get rid of some bad stuff. Keep the good stuff. Simplify it. Simplify. Great. And that's sort of what this was originally supposed to be. There was some controversial stuff that DC had done. We're going to wipe the slate partially clean, and then we're going to move forward with the stuff that works. And then the studio got some different heads, and they said, okay, we're going to take it a different direction. So they had to reshoot a lot of the ending.
Yeah.
And then they brought in new people who said, actually, we're not going forward with this. We're scrapping everything and starting new. And so they reshot a lot of things again.
Yeah.
I'm not super offended because I know it is ending, and it's I'm not going to see any more of these characters. Well, I wasn't going to see any more of them anyways.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would have been nice if we're not going to see them anymore. Give us a nice little button to end it on.
Yeah, something nice. Get some resolution. Or even acknowledge that it's in a different universe now.
Sure.
And it's continuing without Flash. And
maybe it won't be continuing on Netflix, I'm sorry to say. But
yeah, we can only dream. Maybe in a comic or something.
Yeah, or an animated film or something.
I would, at this point, I'd be okay with that because I don't want to see anyone else touch those characters because they obviously don't know what to do with them.
Sure.
They don't know what to do with Gal Gadot or Ben Affleck. Yeah. Or Henry Cavill. Obviously, they don't want him anymore. I'm just sad.
So, yeah, I think this is probably a good time for us to just briefly, as we're wrapping up, we want to look back on these last 10 years of DC, kind of what they've gotten right, what they've gotten wrong, that sort of thing. It's kind of weird for me. I watched Man of Steel on the Friday it opened with a group of 4 of my friends, and so now 10 years later I'm watching what's basically the end of the DCEU. Both movies I really liked, I had some problems with, and in between those 2 movies there was a lot where I was just like, what are you guys doing? I don't understand. And then some stuff where I'm just like, this is maybe some of my favorite superhero stuff ever.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think my favorite thing about this iteration of DC and their stories has been their casting.
Oh, yeah.
There's been 1 or 2 people that have been badly cast. And maybe you can say that, there's still going to be, maybe we're going to get an even better Superman in the future or an even better Cyborg or something like that. But just looking at what we got, iconic casting almost all the way around. Pretty much the only one I don't like is Joker and Lex Luthor.
Yeah, which are big ones. Those are huge ones to screw up, and they screwed them up pretty bad.
An iconic Batman, Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, Aquaman. They did some great jobs.
So, to add to that, casting is definitely solid for the most part. The thing that didn't jive with a lot of people, myself included on occasion, was characterization. And the reason for that is, if this was 1989 Batman, that was Batman, the dark Batman, being introduced for the first time, so people didn't get up in arms when he's like, oh, he's not in a blue and gray outfit, or oh, he's not wearing black and gray, he killed
They were upset before when they heard it was going to be Michael Keaton, but as soon as they watched it, they said, okay, no, minor earthquake here, but they're like, as soon as they saw it, they're like, oh no, I can get on board with this. I like this.
Yeah, they were just happy that there was a Batman movie. That was pretty good.
55,000 people petitioned against Michael Keaton because that was the nerds back then. Imagine the petitions and whatever for modern day where it's like almost everyone's a nerd. Even jocks are nerds.
Well, to be fair, when was the last time we got a casting of Batman where the internet didn't immediately revolt?
Yeah.
And then we go and watch the movie and we always say, oh yeah, we were wrong. This is great.
Probably Christian Bale.
Yeah.
That was the last one.
And
maybe the only
2005,
time.
18 years ago.
Yeah, the only time that's never happened. Probably. So, but, overall, I can't even remember my train of thought.
Yeah, the characterization.
Yeah, the characterization, it tended to really not jive with people, especially when Batman was basically doing all of Lex Luthor's work and acted kind of more like Lex Luthor, honestly, in BVS.
Lex Luthor acted like the Joker and the Riddler, and Superman acted... Well, sometimes he was like a genuine beacon of hope, and other times he's like, shut up, I'm going to kill you.
Yes. Shut up or die. Like, the Man of Steel was like, okay, he's not quite there yet. He'll get there. And then BVS is like, well, he's depressed now.
Yeah,
jeez.
Personally, I know Brendan disagrees, but for me it walked a little too close to the line of like, please don't kill me, Superman.
Yeah. It was a bit much.
Yeah.
It was a bit much overall. They nailed Harley Quinn with the casting and the characterization. My problem is they had way too much exposure of that character specifically, which I think is worse because if you're going to build up this universe, I don't need... How many films featured her? 3 films?
3, yeah.
3 films featured her as a big playing character, And really, we could have used just one.
I mean, if we're not counting end credit scenes, that's as many films as Superman. So,
Holy.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's disgusting when we could have
a Batman.
a Green Lantern,
Yeah.
John Jones, Hawkman,
Zatanna.
Black Cat. Oh, wait.
Oh. Yeah.
There's a whole host of characters, and we're getting one that debuted in a cartoon, albeit a great cartoon.
Yeah.
But still, she's a very cartoony character.
Yeah, and kind of picking up on what you said there, another thing that DC got wrong here that I'm kind of afraid they will do again in the future. I'm trusting them, but could happen. Greenlighting the wrong projects.
Right, yeah.
Because, okay, you're going to do a Suicide Squad movie, that's kind of weird, but hey, Marvel did Guardians of the Galaxy, that was kind of weird, and it worked.
Yeah.
But it didn't go over well, so we're going to follow it up with a Birds of Prey movie, but it's also a Harley Quinn movie, but it's not. And audiences didn't really react well to that, because why would we care?
Yeah.
And then a sequel to Suicide Squad, which, okay, we're doing another one. It was very good, but audiences didn't know that going into it, and so no one went to go watch it. Okay, now we're going to spin off a character from this, show, or from this unsuccessful movie. The show was very successful, but to me that just feels like a fluke. It was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
The fact that we, over these 10 years, had one DC project, one live-action TV show, and it was about, a character who borders on self-parody. I liked the show a lot, but that's the one show we get.
Yeah. Yeah, of all the things, it's just there's so many big players, and they're scraping the bottom of the barrel,
and ignoring people like Superman and Batman. Yeah,
and in some ways ignoring. Well, in some ways they listened to the fans when we got the original cut of Justice League, and in other ways ignoring them and saying, "Oh well, you guys like Harley Quinn, don't you? So we're going to make 3 films or whatever." But yeah, it was better when, despite its flaws, they stuck with what Zack Snyder was doing.
Right.
Everything else that deviated, mixed results.
And I think there should have been someone in the room who every once in a while would say, "Okay, Zack, I hear you, but no." One of the things he said he was planning on doing was that Batman and Lois Lane were going to have a kid, and it's okay, I see what you're saying, but that's never going to happen.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
And so, yes, DC was better when they had someone at the helm, but the person at the helm can't be the only person steering the ship.
Exactly.
Right, and I agree with that. And I do understand the hate, or maybe not hate, but just the dislike.
The disapproval.
Mm-hmm.
Disapproval of Man of Steel or BVS. We just got off of Christian Bale's Batman being, I don't kill people, even though he does.
Yeah.
He does kill people.
In every one of his movies, he kills one person, yeah.
At least one person. And then we go right to Batfleck, where he straight up just kills people with machine guns. And,
no regard.
Mm-hmm.
Just.
And I understand that. And I do think Superman's a little too much of a grumpy butt.
Sure.
But I also understand that there is a lot of stuff that they put between Man of Steel and BVS that you just kind of have to assume happened. Batman must have had a Robin that died because we see Robin's suit, so Joker
and this is what really radicalized him.
Yeah, and then Superman, you also have to assume everyone hates him now. The news media outlets hate him, and it's that was kind of the problem with that universe. Is they're I feel like they thought they had to catch up with Marvel.
Yeah.
And so they're okay, we got to put Batman and Superman in the movie
and
yesterday. And Wonder Woman. Get the Justice League.
And also, we'll fit Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg in the movie, too.
Yeah, everyone's in the movie.
And also, Superman will die in his second appearance.
Yeah.
What?
So,
what?
I would say I understand that that's all very messy, but the way Snyder
he did
put all that together, I'm really impressed, actually. And to me, when you watch Bumblebee, switching over to Transformers, when you watch Bumblebee, the intro where you see them on
the War of Cybertron,
that's the movie you want to watch. for me, that's kind of where I'm getting with this nightmare future where Superman's taken over, and
it's like, stop giving us the superhero stuff. Give us the apocalyptic future with Darkseid and alien gods.
Yeah, and by the end of that whole arc, Superman is like Superman. He's hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Batman's, I think he's supposed to die in that arc.
I think so, yeah.
But who knows what would have happened by the time they changed the script 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that that's a long time because people want Superman to be Superman today, and they want Batman not to kill bad people today. Mm-hmm. But I was excited to go along with that ride, and now it's all gone, and that just kind of sucks.
I liked where it was going.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even if I didn't like where we were,
mm-hmm.
I was interested. I was like, okay, I want to see this payoff. Show me what's going through your mind right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, moving forward, we've referenced it a little bit. There is going to be a guy at the helm of DC going forward. James Gunn, he's a big comic book fan. He's directed a few movies you might have heard of, the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. I've never seen a James Gunn movie or TV show that I didn't like. I haven't seen all of his work, but I've seen a lot of it. I think he's incredibly talented, and if you have to pick somebody to steer the ship, at least creatively, I think he's not a bad pick. But that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily, because we know some of his plans, on board with 100% of what's going on.
Yeah.
Looking at TV shows I was talking about earlier, we actually have a good mix. We have some small characters people may not know, like Booster Gold getting a TV show. We also have a Green Lantern TV show that sounds really interesting. I know, like a Wonder Woman backstory sort of thing that sounds interesting. So it's a good mix of big and small. And with the movies, getting a Superman movie, a Supergirl movie, a Batman movie, and then also some smaller ones like The Authority or Swamp Thing. I think some of those might be a little too niche, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. I like James Gunn's work, but I also know he's not the one that's directing all these.
No, he's writing some of them and directing even fewer, but he will be writing and directing some, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
He did well.
He's doing Superman.
Yeah.
That seems weird to me, just because the Guardians of the Galaxy guy doing Superman.
Never would have thought it, but it's an interesting challenge.
Yeah.
Especially with everything he said he's going to do with Superman.
Yeah, he's not one of these people who's just like, truth and justice and all that good stuff, or truth and justice and better tomorrow. No, he's firmly said, this Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way. This is going to be a movie that looks into his heritage, both the heritage of Krypton, of nobility, of, brilliance, of excellence, but also the heritage of small-town America, of a farm, of humility, of hard work, of kindness and patience. So everything he's saying, like how this is going to be like dedicated to his dad who, taught him everything. I'm hearing all this great stuff. Please don't disappoint me.
Right. So basically he's proven competent at Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
If I will allow for the opportunity to impress me with DC, not based on somebody else's, but on his sort of connective tissue there for an expanded universe. If he does a good job, then I'll applaud, and if he does things I don't like, then I'll just not watch. So simple as that.
And right off the bat, it is easy to just go ahead and blame James Gunn for pulling out the rug of the old DC universe, but you gotta admit, it's not his style. He could not continue the Snyder vision or go down that path. And
even if he could, I don't think it would be right to do that anymore. I think maybe there was a time where the right choice is to carry on, but out of the 14 DCEU projects, 6 have been profitable. That's not a great track record. And if you have to go back 4 years to find one that turned a profit.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then if you look at the audience reactions were 50-50 for that first half, and afterwards they've been pretty negative.
Yeah, I was going to ask about, because some of those movies came out during COVID.
Yeah.
Did Marvel movies make any money during COVID?
So Eternals lost money. Black Widow, it might have just barely broken even, but I think it lost money. Yeah. Shang-Chi earned a lot of money. Spider-Man No Way Home earned a lot of money. And then I think there was...
No Way Home was kind of coming out of COVID.
Yeah, it was at the very tail end there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah, but it was like 3 months after the Suicide Squad, which bombed hard, partially because of of the pandemic. There was a lot of things going into
It was
that.
only 3 months before that.
I think so. So it came out in December, so it was, November, October, September. Okay, so maybe it was 4 months, but yeah.
Okay, wow, yeah. I didn't realize how close that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like the Suicide Squad, but nobody watched it. I like The Flash, and nobody's watching it.
Oh, yeah.
DC just might have a bad taste in everyone's mouth now.
To kind of go off of nobody's watching it, The Flash, it cost roughly $200 million to make, right? And typically to make your money back, you need to triple it because the movie theaters keep some of it. And, you also spend money on marketing it. So in order to break even, this movie would probably need to make about $600 million, right? Its first weekend, it made $130 million worldwide, which was about half of what they were hoping for.
Yeah.
And, weekend to weekend, you typically, a good drop will be if you are at 50% of what the previous weekend was.
I heard they dropped 75.
Well, 72%, yeah. 60% is like 50%, great. 60%, that's bad. 72 is nightmarish. And for one that already opened small, yeah, it's going to lose a lot of money.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
So it makes you wonder if the director of The Flash will still have a job after this, or even if James Gunn will still have a job after this, because it's like, it was a sinking ship.
Mm-hmm.
It was exacerbated by the fact that they said none of this matters anymore. We're doing a totally different thing.
Right.
But now it's like, now that we're seeing it and Warner Brothers is feeling it in their bank accounts, it makes you wonder what sort of repercussions will come of this.
Yeah. I think they're going to keep both Andy Muschietti, who is going to be directing their new Batman movie, and I think they're going to keep James Gunn. But I'm not going to bat an eyelid once if I hear, oh yeah, we're scrapping all this because look at all the money we're losing.
Yep. Yep. They do that with Lucasfilm, Marvel as well. They're like, oh, sorry, your movie didn't make money, so you're out. You're no longer doing a Star Wars movie or whatever. Yeah,
I think the Star Wars curse coming for James Mangold, it's going to hit him with Indy. It's going to hit him probably with Swamp Thing too.
It might, yeah.
He's making Swamp Thing?
He's going to be the director of their Swamp Thing movie, yeah. Which, I mean, he's made like one of the top 3 superhero movies ever in Logan.
Oh, yeah.
But, and I don't think he's ever made a bad movie. And I say that because Indiana Jones has not come out yet, and I'm not hearing good things about that one. But that might be his first bad movie, so...
Yeah, that might have been studio influence, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. In Lucasfilm, with all the brown-haired, strong women, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
It's like, at least can we get a redhead or a blonde?
Yeah, do blondes exist in Star Wars?
What are you saying, they're all brown hair, like they're representative or something?
No, it's like the main character of how many Star Wars projects in the last 10 years has been a white, British, brown-haired woman.
Well, even the side character in Solo.
Yeah.
In Solo, she had.
Kathleen Kennedy has brown hair. I'm not saying anything.
She's not British.
Not British, but if she might wish she was British and young and in Star Wars and the main character and everything.
Is Acolyte? Who's the main character in Acolyte? I thought it was.
So she is going to be
I don't know.
A young woman, yes, but she is black. And then we're getting.
I
guess
we have Cal Kestis for Jedi, the Jedi game, so he's a redhead. We have some diversity, but movie-wise...
Well, we have Mando.
Mando, Andor...
But now there's a redhead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bo-Katan, she's got...
Oh, I thought you were talking about Mon Mothma.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, actually, if we're being real, redheads are overrepresented in Star Wars. Like, there's not a lot of them, but the fact that we have Obi-Wan and Palpatine and Hux and Mon Mothma and... There's one other big one that I'm forgetting.
Bo-Katan?
Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
I mean, just as a percentage of characters, it's something like 5%. Wow. And redheads are only like 2% of the population.
It's like watching a freaking...
Oh, and Cal Kestis. That was the one I was thinking.
Cal Kestis. It's like watching the old animated Batman series where half the people have red hair.
Right. But yeah.
Well, we digress, but...
Just a little.
Is there anything else that we think James Gunn needs to learn from the DCEU, for better or worse?
I think they need to, if they're going to have James Gunn lead it, they need to have him lead it and stay at it. Because I keep on imagining a world where the Zack Snyder Justice League maybe cut down to 2.5 hours.
Or 3 hours or something,
Something shorter. had released when the Justice League released. When it was supposed to release. I'm wondering, would it have been well received? Would we have his universe?
It could have completely changed the whole direction of the universe. Yeah. And not our universe, but the movies.
Right, and I think everyone can agree that it went to crap after the Justice League. We got some hits and some good ones, but overall, it was just disappointing.
Yeah.
And you see that it's evident with the box office of The Flash.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, people see, this is a DC movie coming out? Okay, I like superheroes. Oh, it's part of their main universe? No, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Because Joker and the Batman, there are only 2 movies at this time period that weren't part of their universe. They raked in cash hand over fist. It's incredible, the money that those movies made. And the reception. People loved those movies. One of them was nominated for Best Picture, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
It shows that there is an appetite for DC. It's just you have to really earn back our trust at this point.
Yeah, it's just got a bad name. And, me as a big fan of the universe.
Sure.
Like I was saying, Wonder Woman means nothing. Her song means nothing in those movies. Anyways, I would say my advice is not necessarily directed towards James Gunn. I have no idea what he's going to do.
Sure.
But towards Warner Brothers, just let him do his thing.
Let him cook.
Yes, let him cook. Let us cook. Give him lower budget on his movies if they're not selling as well.
If you're saying, hey, we're not having any $250 million movies, stick to $100 million, maybe $150. Okay, sure, I think that's justified.
Yeah.
My advice, cast well and get the characterization correct.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I could ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah, my advice would be know the story you're telling, like overarching story, but that doesn't mean that every movie or TV show has to be a key piece of the puzzle. It's okay for something to just be a fun standalone story that maybe you can take a character from to play into the bigger story later. But you need to have a good balance of the story and stories.
Correct.
Yep, don't mess it up.
Don't screw this up.
Yeah. The Flash.
Well,
go ahead.
The other thing is we got superhero fatigue. I think that's kind of creeping us.
I have low quality superhero fatigue.
I don't think people are tired of superhero movies. I think they're tired of bad ones.
Yeah.
Because whenever, we're getting less good ones nowadays, but whenever a good one does come out, like Spider-Man No Way Home or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, people flock in droves to the theaters.
People somehow know that, like Ant-Man 3 or what was that other one? Eternals or Thor 3. Did Thor 3 do well?
Thor 4 did okay.
Thor 4.
It made like $700 million, which, hey, I'd like to have $700 million. It broke even, but
nobody liked it.
They were hoping after the hype of Ragnarok and how much people loved him in Infinity War, they're like, okay, this is going to be $1 billion Thor film.
It would have if they kept with the Thor from Infinity War.
Yeah,
maybe not.
If it wasn't too goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was just I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
But
I did, but that's because I was in the theater, and I have yet to walk out of a movie theater. But
I still kind of think superhero fatigue can creep in because Flash was good, and I think people that have seen it like it overall. But people are just already done. Maybe that's just the bad taste in their mouth with the other DC movies, and they're just like, well, Shazam 2 was all right. I think I can skip the Flash. I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, they didn't even watch Shazam 2, so...
Yeah.
They gave up a while ago on DC. So James Gunn, this might be a good thing. I'll miss the Snyderverse and all that, but I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Especially with this sort of thing going on.
A lot is going to ride on this new Superman movie. I think if it's good, if critics like it, if audiences like it, if fans like it, it doesn't need to break even. It needs to at least come close. But if we just missed it, but we lost $1 or $2 million. But listen, people have faith in DC again. They can still move forward.
Yeah, word of mouth. If it was a good movie, James Gunn I think came out when he first announced this. He's like, "We're going to make good movies. That's what we're going to do. We're not just going to make movies for movies' sake.
Yeah,
they're going to be high.
Something needs to be justified in its quality in order to be released. Yeah,
and I'd rather have movies that are flops in the box office, but I know they're good. Kind of like Flash. I know it's good, except
some complaints, but
I know it's good. I'd rather have that. But it is, and especially with the Flash, I don't care that it's flopping. Because they told us already it's the end of the
Mm-hmm.
universe. They're going to start over. So what's the point? So go ahead, flop hard, Flash.
Right. Like
Don't care.
no one walks into Goodfellas saying, "But is this universe going to continue?" But when they know it's a universe and they know, this pattern of these movies is it tells us a story, it pays off previous stuff and builds up to more stuff coming. Well, if there's no more stuff coming, then okay, that's one less reason to see it.
Yeah. We kind of see that with Marvel. Like, we know it's still connected, but again, some of these movies are not getting any good results.
Yeah.
So I think the novelty of, it's one big universe is wearing off. People don't care as much.
No.
They want the movies to be good.
Mhm.
Maybe that's the fatigue I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The interconnected universe between movies.
Yeah.
Cinematic universe.
Right. Yeah, because a whole lot of people have tried, and really only Marvel has succeeded.
Yeah, and at this point,
They're not succeeding.
they're not.
Yeah.
It has to be good
Mm-hmm.
if you want it to succeed.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't feel like I have anything else to add about The Flash or the state of DC in general. I don't know, you guys have anything else you want to pitch in?
No, I'm good.
Loved Keaton.
Yeah, Keaton was great.
Keaton was good.
Keaton's always great.
Supergirl was surprisingly good, and Flash was also surprisingly good.
Yep, elephant in the room aside, he was great.
Yeah.
Loved Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne in this film. Not necessarily Batman. It's kind of 50-50 on that aspect.
I liked him as Batman, except the part where he touches the rope. Everything else I thought was kind of cool. Like him chasing this car, and he shoots his harpoon on it because his motorcycle is now disabled or whatever. I thought that was sweet.
Yeah, there was some good stuff. I trust Andy Muschietti will understand like what makes Batman tick and stuff. But I also understand at least he'll be able to do great action scenes with Batman.
Yeah, that's for sure. Something that I have no qualms with. That was really cool.
Hated that suit. Where's Ben Affleck Batman suit?
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. But
All right.
I don't know.
Well, if that's the case, we're going to wrap up. And, thanks everyone for watching. You can go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to try and be a little more active moving forward just so you can see us with some regularity. How you can follow us on Twitter, and we'll make sure to include links down below to go watch or go follow us there. We have a Patreon. Go follow us on Teespring. I don't know. We usually have Robert here to say all this stuff, and he has it down pat. I don't understand it, but really, just we want to thank you guys for the support you give us. It really means a lot to us. Helps us keep moving forward with this. And so, from the world of cinematics, this is been a great time, and signing off.